What's up, everybody? Welcome to Press for Time. I am Tyler. Benny is here, lurking in the background. Today, we're going to talk video games, like a whole video game show, all video games. We'll probably veer off into movies and toys at some point, but we're going to talk the Game Awards for this year, the nominees that Geoff Keighley has from his little panel of journalists. We're going to talk Press for Time's official Game of the Year rankings, and we're going to talk the abysmal state of the video games industry with layoffs and all of the other multitude of problems that they are having this year to go alongside a banner year for actual video game releases. Stick around.
Busy year for games. Good,
man.
bad, and different. Chaotic.
Yeah, man. It's been a fuck of a year. Like, there's really no other way to put that. And I love that we run this show, that this is our show, that we're not beholden to any corporate entities. So we can just sit here and say that. Like, it was a fuck of a year. So we'll start there. I was gonna kind of end there, but we'll start there, and then we can elevate as the episode goes on, end on a high note.
Get on our wings.
Yes. So yeah, man, layoffs. Let's just dive right in.
Yeah, it's been rough, man. Just obviously us knowing some of the people in the industry, a little more than others, but just knowing, being in the scene, being fans of the games first, and knowing what goes behind the creation of these games. And I hate to say it, but it's not surprising. It's more surprising that on the sheer scale of how much has happened this year.
It felt like dominoes. Like one big company, one big name company was like, yeah, we're doing some layoffs. And everyone else was like, we can do layoffs. We can do layoffs when we're doing well. Awesome. Lay them off. You know what I mean? It feels like it's an up and down. They're like, okay, we've done well, so now let's lay people off until it's time to start ramping back up for production, and then we'll lay people off and then ramp back. Like, god damn, man.
Do you think that this could lead into, I mean, there was talks about having a strike for industry that was focused on the video game world, obviously based on all the different strikes that have happened in previous months.
So SAG-AFTRA, some video game performers and actors, because actors
are part of that.
You think about Ashmore's in Alan Wake and stuff like that. So you have real actors, plus you have some video game actors and people that are part of SAG-AFTRA as well. So they were talking about striking on the game side, but there is no union protection for the technical side of things. So that's been the big conversation is unionization coming to the games industry? And sure, the fuck it should. Jesus, man, if this year has shown us anything between abysmal profit sharing from the top down, so much of that money stops at the top and so little of it makes its way down to the people that are actually creating these experiences. Right. It's criminal, man. It's terrible. So abysmal profit sharing, layoffs, horrible working conditions. You see all the stories break all the time. Rebecca Valentine at IGN does a fantastic job chasing down these crunch stories and these stories of corporate malpractice and the working hours and the days and devs going into launch working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like, that is, nobody should do that. Nobody should have to do that. That is a completely unsustainable work-life balance.
Especially in an industry where, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, to say nothing of like people are like, oh, well, they're doing it's a passion job. Shut the fuck up. It's a job. It's a job. You can be passionate about your job and it's still a job. And you should not be required to devote 16 hours a day, 7 days a week to anything.
And that's pretty much where I was. You pretty much said it for me. It's one of those industries that a lot of people say if you get to do what you love, you know what I mean? It's one of the few industries.
Just be grateful for the opportunity.
So they say that being a musician too. You love writing music, you do it for passion. I mean, we do this out of passion, right? It's a difference. But you have to have that fine line,
Yeah, I don't
especially
understand the belittling of the arts, and that's what it really boils down to. When steel workers strike, obviously there's people on the far right that are like, nobody should ever strike ever, blah blah blah. But the majority of the public supports that kind of thing. They're like, yes, get what you're owed, get what's fair. When UPS gets ready to go on strike,
right,
yep, pay those
which we
guys.
talked about that before too.
Exactly. But when artists go on strike, everyone's like, you should just be happy.
Yeah, because people take for granted how much goes out there in the world and
Yeah,
how important art is in the form of
absolutely.
music, visuals, storytelling, writing. It doesn't matter what world of art, it's embedded in our blood in every way. You get in a car, what do you turn on? A radio. You know what I mean? Like, people
Yeah.
have had too much to, and you underappreciate things, I think, after a
No, yeah.
while. I think we
Absolutely.
talked about that with media, with
We
digital
did.
media, with streaming, same
Yeah.
idea. Too much is not
It
always a
becomes
good thing.
devalued. Yep. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what the steps are. Obviously, I'm a guy podcasting behind a mic. I don't work, journalism side, but I don't work in development side. I don't know what the ins and outs of actually creating a union, what that would look like. I don't know what that would do to the industry. But my knee-jerk reaction is, I've seen what it did for the actors. I've seen what it did for the writers. We know what it does for directors. There should be something in place to help these guys.
Agreed.
So
I feel like it's, we talk about, projects coming and going, but it's such a self-sustaining machine. It's an industry that's around 50 plus years as far as
yeah,
it in one way or another with
well,
games.
absolutely.
And, the games are going to come, whether we like it or not, whether the world likes it or not, but you're going to eventually need those people to come back. So
Hmm.
even if they don't strike, what if they just don't want to get hired?
Yeah,
You know what
man.
I mean? That's the scary scenario.
Well, and I see that
Obviously,
too. I see people on Twitter and stuff being like, "Hey, I'm tired of this, man. I've been laid off from my 13th games industry
project,
job. I'm moving to another industry. This is what I want to do, but I can't do this. Bye."
right? Yeah, I mean, it's a scary, scary situation when you have to realize that a majority of these people, this is their day job, this is their careers.
Yeah. They have
You have,
families, they have spouses,
yeah,
they have children, they have a mortgage, they have car payments, they have all the same shit that you do working at your job, at your day-to-day job where you live. They have all the exact same responsibilities, and their job is to make games. It's a job. It's a job. And I feel
yeah,
like that's where the big disconnect is. But I don't know. I will say, and this is a direct point, and this is something that I've kind of been building to. Um, this absolutely has to be addressed at the Game Awards. I'm all for, I understand the people that are like,
celebration, and yeah,
celebration and keep politics out and keep current events out and all that. I have feelings about that too, but we won't get into those. I will
please.
say I will say very specifically, discussion of over 7,000 layoffs now from the biggest companies in the industry: Microsoft, Unity, Epic. That's just the start. EA, Ubisoft, friggin' Bungie, Sony, like
Yeah,
everyone is laying employees off with very little real, hey, this is why. Everybody's turning record profits. Everybody's showing out incredible games. Well, except Microsoft, but everyone's got incredible games coming out. So, I get it. Microsoft bleeding money with that Games Pass shit, but
I
they
thought it was
probably need to.
I thought it was the Sphere, the Vegas Sphere.
Woo! The Sphere, yeah. So maybe Microsoft, but everybody else. But it should be addressed.
Microsoft needs a candle.
Needs a candle? Yeah, of course. I knew it was coming. I'm gonna go on
You saw me
strike.
reaching.
I'm
You saw me reaching.
unionizing. I'm unionizing this podcast, and the collective bargaining says no candles. Um,
Amazing.
but no, it really does. It needs to be addressed at the Game Awards because it is such a big piece of this year, and I will be not surprised, but I will be incredibly disappointed if it is completely glossed over and not touched.
I feel like Geoff has it in him. And I don't think he's obligated to not. You know what I mean? but it's like such a
Oh,
gray
it's his
area.
choice. It's absolutely
Yeah.
his choice. It's absolutely his choice, and he should be saying something. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm not going to condemn him yet. The show hasn't aired. We have no idea. But I will say he has been uncomfortably silent about all of it in the weeks leading up to this.
It's a tough position to be in too, I
Is it
think it
though?
is. I think it is. Because
Okay.
again, like you said, because he's not obligated to anybody, and he does.
He's not
I
obligated to
guess
anybody. He's his own person running his own thing. He should be able to stand up for those people and be like, "Hey, listen. And I will cite precedent. When all the stuff with Konami and Kojima happened, he was very loud, very vocal about his support for his close personal famous friend Hideo Kojima, and
true.
very anti-Konami. He stood
His
on
ground.
principle and he said, "Hey, this is fucked up. Something should be done about this. This is unacceptable." So my take is if he's willing to go to bat for his friend, Hideo Kojima, he should also go to bat for the 7,000 workers that were laid off this year in the industry that we were supposed to be coming together to celebrate.
Well said.
I'll get off my soapbox.
I mean, no, I commend you for having the courage to say it, because not a lot of people feel comfortable, having these strong opinions on this stuff. Me, I try to stay in the middle. I try to understand both sides. There's always a business aspect of it, right? But again, for transparency, for those that have been watching us, this is not our careers. We have jobs and other responsibilities, but we do this out of pure passion. But we have to understand the facts, and we have to, convey the fact that everything's a business when it comes to works. Things happen, layoffs happen in every industry, but we talk entertainment, we talk video games a lot. And a big part of that comes into people that struggle with having sustainability in this industry. And again, I've said it's been an issue for a long time, but it's a really big issue that it's happening this year. And we've said it numerous times in a peak of video game releases.
Probably the best year ever.
In history. It's
yeah.
a big deal. So in contrast to that, we have to look at the facts and look at, why is this happening? Nobody's hemorrhaging because they're not, that's where a lot of things, we start price hiking. Oh, we got to lay off. We got to counterbalance. There's no counterbalance here. Like you said, there's success. If they're losing money, maybe they're not divvying the profits. Again, it's not our place to disclose, but the fact is that people are, I hate to say it, dropping like flies, and it's an unfair aspect, on the social media side to see it happen. You have certain outlets that have had mass layoffs that are even at the level of journalism. So it's not even just the game development. Some of them have had better success bouncing off their feet than others, but it's not going to work like that for everybody. So
no, it's not.
We're here to be transparent. We're here to share our unbiased opinions on stuff when it comes to this. And Tyler, thank you for, again, speaking to that. And that's my take on it. It's kind of in the middle, but I really do feel that it should be addressed one way or another in a responsible manner. Yeah. It's a courtesy for the fans.
Agreed. All right. So continuing on Game Awards, let's talk about their nominations for Game of the Year. And so correct me if I'm wrong. The way the Game Awards works is it's a panel of like 120 people from various reputable games journalism sites. And they all come together and kind of do a voting system, somewhat like the Oscars. Right. And all of those that are voted in go to the main stage. And then final voting for Game of the Year happens from there. So let's talk about the Game of the Year nominees. Let's see. Yeah, so
I figured if you needed a minute, I'll just start
a little background music. Trying to see if there's a way. No, there's really no. That's fine. So we've got, in no particular order, Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Mario Wonder, and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. First thoughts with that list, go.
I'm not surprised. I can understand why most of those are in there. I know you have some takes you're going to share with Baldur's Gate. It's not a game that I ever will touch, so I can't have an opinion on it. I know that there are probably people that feel that some other games should be on that list. But again, you think about like there's other categories, like fighting game and uh, I don't know if they're doing like a remake of the year because there is several remakes, and do we consider those really new games? And I'm very divided on that. So I think that list makes sense. I could see where you don't agree with some of those games. So yeah, what's your thoughts?
All right, so I've pulled up our review. So I did the Baldur's Gate 3 review in conjunction with Matthew, who also writes for Gaming Age. So let's talk about it. So I'm not gonna read the whole thing. I'll have a link, or you can pull it up. It's gamingage.com and just look for Baldur's Gate 3 review. But anyway, I added my PC thoughts to the review. I said specifically, I've been playing for almost 3 whole years. That's a lot of time. We were limited what we had available in early access. I had time to get acquainted with the systems and played several runs through the beginning of the game. I talk about how this really is just Dungeons and Dragons in a video game, which is amazing if you're somebody that has never been able to play Dungeons and Dragons before, or you can't get a consistent group together because that's really fucking hard to do, and you want to experience it. This is as close as it gets, man. This is Dungeons and Dragons
in game form.
Yep, very much so. It's huge. You can play with groups, drop in, drop out. If you don't have a dedicated group, you can play by yourself, and you have NPC companions that come through that will interact with you. It's a fucking enormous game. Tons of side stories, romance, choices. You can succeed and you can fail. It's all kinds of crazy stuff. Can't find much fault with it. And I said specifically a big part of this is because they had 3 years to work on it in early access. 3 years of early access of people purchasing the game for full price, playing what was available, and sticking with them through update after update after update after update, right? And I said, at the time, I said Baldur's Gate 3 is not my favorite game this year. That distinction goes to Armored Core 6, which actually is not my favorite anymore either. But I do believe it is hands down easiest choice for game of the year ever, right? Said 2023 is a stacked year in video game history, but Baldur's Gate 3 captured the cultural zeitgeist in a way that few games in history have. I give it a 10 out of 10, right? Matthew played through it as someone who doesn't play D&D and, a newer player. He also gave it a perfect score, right? He says hard to say. So many game of the year contenders, but I'm going to circle back, right? So I said, where'd I go? There we go. Hands down, easiest choice for game of the year. I don't agree with that anymore. And here's why. It's because of the early access. And the more I've thought on this as we push into awards season, the more I feel it is almost unfair to award game of the year to a game that has been out for 3 whole years. And yes, I understand it wasn't available on consoles. Yes, I understand that it was only early access and so much of the game was locked behind, what wasn't available yet. So it really is a whole new experience now that it's out. But that's a long time to tweak your game and get it game of the year
functional. Yeah, functionality wise.
Yeah.
That's the core aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
No, it makes sense. It's a very, very valid and intriguing point of view.
Yeah. Am I saying the game is not a 10 out of 10 still? Absolutely not. It's an incredible game. If the game wins game of the year, am I going to be upset? Absolutely not. I feel like they really deserve awards. Like, it's incredible. It's an incredible fucking game. But the more I look at it, especially in a year that was so full of unique experiences, new games, sequels to 2010 games, sequels to games that are almost 15 years old, that come out and astound everybody. You know, there's so much this year that I feel like the 3-year early access period is almost a little bit of a crutch, almost a little unfair. So having Baldur's Gate 3 win the award that it will probably win, I mean, it is almost the favorite, like almost guaranteed to win Game of the Year. And a big part of that is also the cultural relevance, like how many people are talking about it, how big it became in the minds of people that aren't necessarily gamers, aren't necessarily D&D fans. I think it's got a lot of things going for it that kind of push it over the top, when in reality, I don't necessarily think it is the Game of the Year. But, you know, that's neither here nor there.
No, but it's a great, again, I think it's a very insightful way of looking at it. And a lot of people are probably not looking at it that way. And this is more for just a conversation piece to really just share a different aspect of it.
And again, I have to reiterate before we get fucking lambasted in the comments, I love the game. I love the game. It's amazing. I will not be upset if it wins. I'm not saying it doesn't deserve to win. I'm just saying maybe 3 years of early access should, you know, at least come into consideration. And on that same conversation, let's dive right in and talk about, should remakes and remasters be eligible for Game of the Year? Because Resident Evil 4 is on there. Yeah, again, an incredible game. I fucking love it. If it won, I wouldn't. It's not going to win, but if it won, I wouldn't be mad.
And you know how I feel. I'm extremely biased. And you were like that with Dead Space. This was this was a big talk of the beginning of the year when we restarted the podcast. We started the podcast relaunch with Dead Space, interestingly enough. So,
yep. And you'll see when I do my Game of the Year list, I did not include Dead Space.
So I think in the grand scheme of things, because of the sheer volume and quality this year, I would not consider a remake as part of a Game of the Year. I would maybe categorize it in a genre specific.
Sure.
Survival horror.
Right. Best survival horror game this year. Best action adventure game this year.
Sandbox. You know? Yeah, whatever it be.
Yeah, whatever it fits in, I think, for sure. But for the overall Game of the Year, I don't know, man.
So look, I think I don't want to make the show too long because we had some really great insightful stuff.
Oh, that's true. Yep.
But I was thinking maybe we just pick one Game of the Year for each of us, and then an honorable mention. And we can have another show where we could discuss some of the other great games that we have in that list. And maybe we can bring in one of our other co-hosts to the show.
Yeah, we can do a true Game of the Year conversation on another episode when we have a little more time.
I think it would be worth doing that because I think we're going to want to speak to the games, you know?
You're right.
So,
you're right.
Yeah. So why don't we start with you? Let's pick, if you want to do your honorable mention, and then you can do what you feel is your number one for the year.
All right. And then we'll do, like I said, we'll do a full Game of the Year episode. My honorable mention that did not make we did top fives, by the way. My honorable mention that did not make the top 5 is The Invincible, which is a very recent game.
Yes.
Let's see.
You just reviewed it, right?
Just finished the review for it. Yep.
Interesting. And I remembered you had said, oh, you know, if you saw it, you would know because I had it on my watch list or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember the artwork. Once I saw the artwork, I'm like,
yep.
Okay. Now I remember.
It's pretty great, isn't it?
Really cool cover. Yeah, really intriguing. Like it's kind of, I want to know what that is, but I didn't do too much research on it, so I'm not gonna lie. You kind of gave me a little bit of insight of what it was about, but
yeah. So it's Starwood Industries made it, published by 11-Bit Studios. So it's not a big AAA. You know, it's not indie either, really, but kind of is. There's a conversation we had about what fits indie now as well after this Game of the Year, but we're not gonna talk about that. But yeah, so it's a walking simulator-ish kind of game. I've seen it lovingly described as Firewatch in space. So if you liked Firewatch, you will probably like The Invincible. I gave it a 9, and I think I gave it the highest score, or maybe not the highest, but close to the highest of all the outlets that I've seen. Because I really loved this game. Like, awesome. Really loved this game. It's pretty short. You can get through it in 6 to 10 hours, depending on how much you want to do. But you can replay it again. There are choices you can make, and there are different endings and different things that can happen based on what you choose during the game. So I won't spoil too much, but it's a retro futuristic kind of hard sci-fi style thing. Yeah, it's really cool. The aesthetic's amazing. The art style and the environmental design is just incredible. And I could spend hours. I did spend hours just wandering around Regis 3 and just enjoying how fucking beautiful it was and finding little bits of things everywhere. So that is my honorable mention, and my pick for game of the year, which is hard. It's hard to lock it in. Yeah, it really was. I sat here fucking with this list for like 15 minutes, but I've got to give it to Final Fantasy 16. Got to, man.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's so incredible. So incredible. It's perfect.
That's why I figured you were disappointed with the Game Awards list.
Yeah. 16 should have been on there. It was very much snubbed.
Yeah. Do you feel enough people played it? Maybe not. I didn't get.
I mean, I feel like enough people played it, but again, maybe I'm biased. I don't know.
It's a great game. I have to get back to it again. It's a weird thing to say when there's so many good games. I mean, we always have a backlog, right? As gamers, that we buy stuff, but stuff that we want to get to, and it's on our list. Like, and the biggest struggle for me, I think, this year is because of the compacted list of quality games. Then you have games coming out right before the awards, so stuff that I haven't finished either. So it's that issue, because one of my games is like up there, but I haven't played it enough to get through it to like cement that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a tough one for me. But do you want to talk a little more about your choice, or?
No, I'll save it for when we do the big episode. But let's hear yours, man. Let's hear your honorable mention and your pick. We'll see if I'm right or not.
So my honorable mention is going to be Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, so it's up there because obviously I'm a diehard Zelda fan. I did enjoy my time. I played a lot of it, several hundred hours, I think. But you know, it's a lot of the same as far as like what we've had. You know, there is refreshed things, there's multiple maps, things like that. The story is what really put it up there in my honorable mention, because there was so much more to the details with Ganon, and you know, it was just awesome. It was great storytelling. The gameplay mechanics it was okay. Like, I didn't love it, but I got into a groove and I just played it and got through completion. I finished all 3 maps, which I'm not a completionist in anything. And I don't even get a reward for that. But
except Spider-Man.
Yes. first platinum ever.
Yeah.
But I know they were handing them out like candy, so I don't feel like I achieved anything.
You still did. You still went through and did it.
But yeah, I mean, I really hope that we can get a return to form for Zelda. I really hope that they consider going back to that GameCube tech demo that they did use and give us a game like that. Even if it's a new style,
totally
inspired by Dark Souls, like Dark Souls Light.
Well, I don't need Dark Souls Light Zelda, but
I
hear you, but I feel like that would end up being too derivative.
Yeah, I mean, like more so like control wise. I wanted to feel like controlling the character. I feel like that might be an interesting way of exploring. Like Elden Ring felt like a Zelda game, you know, in essence, to some degree, to me.
Okay.
You know, but anyway, yeah, that was just my thought on it. My game of the year is going to be Spider-Man 2.
Yep, I knew it. A solid choice, truly.
For me, as a nerd, as a Marvel nut, as a Spider-Man nut, well, Spider-Man's cut off from the video, but I love Spider-Man, and I'm a diehard Venom fan more than anything. So having a game with Venom in a mature, gritty, rich storytelling, very emotional, emotionally attached throughout the story. All the voice actors just did an amazing job, and I never felt any of the side missions were a chore, because they usually are. And the fact
They
that I
were in the
platinumed the
first one
game.
for sure.
Yeah.
It was a
I didn't want
big
to save
upgrade.
anybody on the side, and like there was dialogue, and to me there was just so many unique things that you don't need to put in the game, but because they did, I'm like, that's cool. Like the graffiti scenes when like you're doing the graffiti and you're helping, and then you're kind of at that low level scenario. It's not needed, but it was a cool dynamic, and just take a break because it wasn't too long. You know what I mean? Did it need to be in there again? No, but it worked. I liked the little side missions where like Spider-Man's helping the woman try to find the animal in her backyard, and it ends
Yes,
up
that
being
was
like a
pretty fun.
robot. Like it's just a
Mhm.
lot of cool, great, unique little ties to the bigger picture that it's, he's the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. There's
Right.
this grand world ending entity that's happening, but he's still doing his thing. Miles is still doing his thing. The worst part of the game is Miles's costume at the end of the game. Like that's the
Mm.
only thing I could really flub on the game. Everything else I absolutely loved. The fact
Yeah.
that Miles has a Wolverine costume, again, another fan favorite for me. So
Yeah.
it had to be. And I also
Oh,
finished it.
I am waiting for Wolverine with bated breath
Oh,
because I will
I mean,
ride.
if nobody's told you already,
Right,
right?
right. Dude, I'll tell you what, the not necessarily super popular X-Men Origins Wolverine video game on the
So good.
360, bro, I will
So
ride for
good.
that movie until I fucking die. Or for that game, not that movie.
Yeah,
For that
not the
game.
movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not the movie. The movie's trash. But the game, dude, I will ride for that game until I fucking die. That game
So
was
good.
so
So good.
good.
Yeah.
So good, man.
I
Oh,
think it's in good hands. I'm excited. But that's mine. And again, I have my other top 4, which we'll
yeah.
discuss.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll do a dedicated game of the year. I have some ideas. I'll talk offline with you here when this is over.
cool. But we'll keep that
All
one
right.
right there. We'll nip it in the bud. Sound good?
Yep. Sounds good,
All right,
bud.
everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate your time as always. Really quick, thank you, 500 subscribers.
Yeah.
500 in less than a year. We can't thank you enough. We figured
Yep.
let's get this out there beforehand. You guys are awesome. It means so much, for two guys that are doing very little to promote other than just being on social media. We've grown the team to, bigger numbers, and we have a great team that's helping us with content. We can't thank you enough. We're going to figure out a giveaway soon, as we mentioned in the past. But if you are just joining it for the first time, please make sure to like and subscribe. We won't let you down. We have some great content coming this way. But until next time, everybody, take care and have fun.
See ya.